My name is Dana Spector. I'm an Israeli journalist in one of Israel's many, many dying newspapers, because we all know that newspapers are dying these days. And when I got the three of these young ladies' books to read, I didn't know what was in store for me. I was quite happy before I read them, actually. I didn't know what would happen when I read these three wonderful novels. They broke my heart, to be quite honest. All three of those novelists, they wrote books that broke my heart and made me realize that I'm living a really, really sheltered, privileged life. Because when you look at their heroines and what they're going through, you understand your life is amazing. So let's go book by book and author by author and then start, okay? Say hello, everybody. Hi, shalom. Okay, so this
Hi,
is...
Dana.
Oh, thank you. She's my friend, seriously. So I'm going to say Ayobami's Adébáyọ's name and hope I pronounce it right. Ayobami Adébáyọ, right? From Nigeria? Yeah. Okay, so she wrote a book called Stay With Me, which is a story about a young... Yes, please, applause, yes. Thank you. Thank you for doing this without me asking. She wrote a wonderful, wonderful book called Stay With Me, which is about a young couple in 1980s in Nigeria who is so very much in love. The woman is wonderful, she's strong, she's beautiful, she's a feminist. And the guy, who's named Akin, is crazy about her and her strength. He really loves her. So when they start out, this couple in this Ayobami's book, they start out so in love and they swear to each other that they're not going to have polygamy marriage, which was very customary in Nigeria at that time, taking a second and even a third woman. They swore to each other that the future will be modern and amazing. They'll just stay in love with each other and everything will be fine. And then tradition came in. And when they couldn't have children, this wonderful couple that she wrote about, they found out that his mother and the rest of the village want him to take a second wife. And from then on, it goes horribly wrong. And the beautiful love, beautiful modern love of two strong people is tarnished and ruined. So, hello, Ayobami. Hi, sorry, I almost fell down. Should not have worn that high heels. I will sit down and explain about Emilie. Emilie Moatti is an Israeli spokesperson, journalist, TV host, and of late, a politician. A wonderful politician. She always says what's on her mind. She gets in trouble, but she's wonderful. She's so brave, seriously. And her book is Blue Marks, and it's about a woman, a really, really young woman, 20 years old, who came from a bad neighborhood in Israel and came to Paris to find a future. And she's so hopeful. It's like, again, a book about hope. It begins so hopefully. She's so hopeful to find a beautiful future in France, in Paris. And then she meets the wrong man. And then she has to kill the wrong man that she met because he attacked her and raped her. And it's a book about losing hope, which Emilie didn't. Let me tell you that. Give a round of applause for Emilie and Blue Marks.
Toda, thank you.
And this is Lana Lux, not Lux, Lux, it's very important. She wrote Kokolda. Wow, that book made me get really angry at my husband for no reason. Because, well, seriously, it's a book about, it's like a little small girl named Samira, who's of Gypsy origins. She's a beautiful girl. She's raised in an orphanage in Ukraine. And then she escapes this terrible orphanage because her friend is being adopted and going to Germany, and she wants to come and see this friend in Germany. And then she goes out to the streets of Ukraine, and it's like Little Red Riding Hood. She's a small, beautiful girl in a world full of wolves. And the guys are just pigs. What they do to her. One grooms her to be his own personal sexual pet, the first one. Okay, right? I'm right? He's also nice. Okay, I see in your face.
Don't tell too much.
Okay. Doesn't matter. She meets a lot of bad guys, okay? That's it. I will not say too much. Did I spoil all of your books endings? No, I didn't do spoilers. Wow, that's a relief. Okay, so let's start. So you are all young authors. This is your first book, I'm right? Yep. Say yes.
Yes.
Feel free to answer. Yes. Okay, so this is your first books. And you chose to deal with pretty heavy, painful women issues. such as domestic abuse, polygamy, rape, prostitution, child prostitution. Why? Just why? That's my first question. How did it come? Lana, start. How did it come to be?
Yeah, it's a good question, and as you can imagine, many people asked me that before, and as you can imagine, I asked it myself. Because when I started to write this book, I was pregnant. So it didn't fit into my whole life situation at all. The idea to the book came to me during a creative writing workshop, and it actually was a writing workshop for children books.
Wonderful, Lana.
Yay! So, maybe some of you know this way to get creative in writing by picking a photo, randomly photo, and then
that was a thing that you did in the class. They gave you photos to choose from, right?
Yeah, you choose a photo and then you imagine what could this person be like. So I was pregnant, and while I was slow walking in front to pick a photo, the best photos were taken. And the only photo was a very famous one, and nobody wanted to take this very famous photo. It was a photo of the Afghani girl with the green eyes.
Yes, I know this photo.
Everybody knows it.
Oh no, I forgot. Everybody knows it.
That's why nobody choose it,
It was a cliche.
It was a cliche. You can't imagine something into something you know already. Yeah, but I took this photo, and while I was walking back to my seat, this character was in my mind with the whole story.
Samira.
Yes.
The story of Samira.
And I asked
with the
her,
green eyes.
"What's your name?" And she told me Samira, and I never heard this name before.
Wow.
I was sure I was making this name up, and I was quite proud. But later I told people yes, my character's name is Samira. What do you think? And everybody, I knew one, and my grandmother's name is also Samira. Yeah,
but
so I don't know why I picked it. The character picked me, but somehow it related to everything I saw in my life, and topics were interesting to me, and everything I observed. I observed all the homeless children when I grew up in the Ukraine. I observed very, very young prostitutes in front of my window when I moved to Hamburg and later to Berlin. I get always confused by this,
Yeah, so do I. I was thinking, is it a war? But it's not a war. It's just an ambulance.
And also I worked for a long time, for 13 years, as a masseur.
You were a masseuse?
Yes.
Okay. So you know something about in
Yeah.
a small scale of industry.
Yeah, you can say
many
so.
bad guys as a masseuse? Yep.
I met also some good one, but yes, they're everywhere. You can't just have the one without the other.
Yeah.
And but I know how it is to be seen as a sexual object. Let's say this. And I never told it anywhere before,
So let's
just because I'm not
applaud
at
her
home.
for the courage.
I'm just I
thought it was a wonderful story.
I'm here and I just behave how I want, and nobody will know when I go back home.
We won't tell anybody that you've been a masseuse. Wow. But thank you for sharing that. I understand now. You know what it feels like. And this is why Samira is such a brilliantly written heroine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Emilie, what about you? My friend with a broken leg.
Blue Marks is not a book about rape. Like Anna Karenina is not a book about extramarital pregnancy. I'm not comparing the two. I just wanted to mention something you all know. It's a book about the impossibility to go through your destiny, to try to be something you deserve to be, something you wanted to be, but you can't because you are in a prison of your family, of your area, of many unjust issues. So it's more than book about the power, the balance between men and women. It's more book about the impossibility to go out, to be someone else, to go.
Because Iris is not from the right class, right? She's from the wrong side of the
She's
tracks.
not from the right. She wasn't born to the right class, of course. And she never wanted to be there, so she was always looking for something else, some hope. And it's true, she met this guy, and for her, it was like the new life she always wanted to have. And unfortunately, it ended like it ended. But it's not a book about rape, I'm sorry.
Ayobami?
Hi. So why...
Speak louder, please.
Oh, okay.
You're so gentle.
Can you hear me in the back? Yeah. Okay. Why this novel? So it began with the character, the woman's character, Yejide's character. As for me, many stories begin with thinking about a particular person that I've imagined and trying to fill up what I think to be the gaps in their lives, and sort of following them, and they tell me more about themselves, and then I have a whole novel. I know it sounds a little cookie, but that's kind of how it works for me.
Sounds like a real author, actually.
Okay. But with this particular character, she was connected to a moment that I had with someone I actually knew, who was the mother of a friend who had passed on. And I ran into her, and about 2 years after my friend passed away, and was just moved by how much she had changed, not just in terms of her physical
From
appearance.
losing a child?
Yes.
Who was your friend?
Yes.
She lost a daughter who was your
Yes.
really good friend.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, we grew up in the same community. Our parents worked together, so we were. I mean, our parents would buy us the same backpacks and things like that. So yeah, we since I was about 6, we'd sort of been in each other's lives, and I remember seeing this woman and just observing her. I had the opportunity to observe her for about an hour because we were at the same event and we're sitting at the same table for maybe about 15 minutes. And was just struck by how much she had changed, the way she moved through the world. And there was this expression she had on her face when she looked at me that I couldn't get out of my mind for about 2 weeks, And at the end of that period, I decided to write about a character who was sort of modeled after her. And when I was done with it, I sort of realized that a short story wouldn't get her out of my mind. And about 2 to 3 years later, I began to work on the novel. So there's a sense in which it begins more as, for me at least, as a book about surviving what might be the greatest loss in your life, and what kind of person, what does that do to you? If
We're speaking about the disease, which is called, right?
Yes, yes.
Wow, I have to remember the name of the disease, and I'm no doctor.
It's called sickle cell disease.
It's very hard for me in English to remember the name of the disease. Say it again.
Yes, sickle cell disease.
Yeah. Sickle cell. Yeah, anemia. Right.
Yeah. So yes. So I spent a lot of time thinking about what it must mean to love a child who is ill. And then to perhaps lose that child and have to go on living your own life. There's a lot of things that then happen. A lot of things happen in the novel, but all of that comes later in subsequent years while I'm working on the manuscript.
It's kind of beautiful because you wrote a beautiful love story to the woman who gave birth to the friend that you lost, to your friend's mother. I think it's wonderful. Did you read it? Did she find herself in it, the mother of your friend?
I don't think she's read it. I'm not sure I want her to.
Good question.
Yes.
Answer, yeah.
Because I think it's, of
It's too
course,
close.
very removed from her whole life. I don't know anything about how she met her husband. I had to make all of that up. But, I mean, she was the inspiration. And I think it might be a very difficult book for her to read, actually.
Yes, maybe we should just leave it between us here in Israel. You're right. But we are in a panel called Lolita Didn't Complain, so we have to talk about the connections of all of your stories to the Me Too movement. Was this kind of, it's a hard question to ask, because I don't know if I believe in the question, but I will try and ask it. was this kind of a political movement, political ideas on your shoulders while you were writing? Did you think about feminism? Did you think about you're going to change the world or cause awareness with this kind of writing about women's issues? Or did you just write what you wanted and then the agenda came? You understand?
Can I?
Yeah.
Feminism, it's not agenda for me.
Oh,
it's part
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Long word.
No,
Yeah.
it's part of my blood.
That's
so
nice.
I cannot write as a woman or as something without being a feminist.
That's amazing.
To your question. And about Me Too, I wrote this book when I was 20, like 18 years ago. We knew nothing about Me Too. We knew nothing about a relation between men and women. We knew that we are a sexual object. And the look of a man is, it's like something we should live with and not be against it. So I'm very glad about Me Too. I think it's a very important movement. It changed my life. It changed life of many others. And I can't separate between me as Emilie, as a woman, as a politician, and as a feminist.
It is a bit of your book has a bit of autobiographical. You know how it feels to be objectified so horribly, right? In a way.
Yes.
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 And you didn't complain. It was before we were supposed to be good girls then.
I know the feeling. I was too young to complain. Yes, I know the feeling.
So now you're being a politician, maybe to even change that. Maybe you believe the power of.
I'm working on it, but as you know, my party lost the.
No, it's not your fault.
the
Your party
elections.
lost the election.
We got
so
6 mandates, so not yet, but maybe one day, next election, I hope so.
I believe so. So, Lana?
Yeah, if I would know the word feminism, maybe it had been easier for me to be a girl the days, because I always felt like not the right kind of girl.
Oh, I know that feeling. Trust me.
Also, I wasn't like this not right kind of girl, because I looked like a girl and I looked like a doll, like a kukolka, and I knew how to behave, and I knew everything about this play, but I felt always wrong, like always. So I played the play perfect. You know, I was an actress from the youngest age on, and I knew how to behave, to be treated well, to be seen, and to get all your stuff together. But it felt wrong. And I saw so many things in relationship between my parents, between their friends, between older sisters and brothers of my friends. And I hated it. I hated the lie. I saw this lie always.
Which lie? Tell us more.
Yes,
it's interesting.
this lie about when people are together, but I see they are not, but they pretend they are, and everybody pretend like they wouldn't see anything. And my grandmother hated my grandfather. You know, he was awful. She was wonderful. He hated him. And like she told me quite before dying, and he was already dead, like, I don't know, 15 years or something. God bless him. But yeah, she told me she never loved him. You know, she never loved him, and she's still being together with him because, yeah, why? And that was always my question, why? And when I get older, I just wanted to be a boy.
Identify.
It was my...
Men never have to deal with those questions.
Yeah, the
like
volumes.
manhood, what does it mean to be man? Yeah. Am I good enough? Or
No, they do, but differently. I think.
no, maybe yours, maybe your husband, but not the others. Believe me, I know them.
Yeah, maybe not all of them, but some of them do. I don't think it's easy to be a man.
No.
I think also it's very hard to be like a man without being an asshole. Because everybody, yeah, yeah, because also
Because
this,
it's their default to be.
no, because everybody expects this from you, because all your peers are behave like this, and if you as a boy don't fit in, so yeah, you are a pussy and you get treated like girls get
In
treated.
Ayo
So-
Bami's book, the guy starts as a wonderful guy, right? Wonderful, like the man of my dreams. He's wonderful. He's so gentle and nice, and society makes him into an asshole. Into right?
Yes, I mean,
Yeah, so I think it's also hard to be a man, but I recognize I want to be a boy and a man because I want to decide whom to date. I want to ask the
You
girls
wanted to be
out.
a subject and not at all.
Yeah, and also I wanted to be somebody asks the girls out. So later in my 20s, I recognized I'm bisexual, but at that moment, it wasn't just about this. It was also like, I don't want to make myself pretty and wait if I'm good enough. You know?
And the volumes are also always wrong when you're a woman. It's like Alice in Wonderland.
yeah.
You're too loud. You're
Yeah.
too honest.
Yes.
You're too talkative. Your hair
Yes.
stands out in curls. Sorry, I
Yes.
was being personal.
Now
You're never
imagine
the
woman
right
in
woman to
politics.
be, right? Even you, Emily, with the green eyes and the pearls.
Blue, blue, blue.
Blue, sorry. You never feel like the right woman, right? Womanly enough, right?
Me in general, I feel good with myself.
Right now, yeah.
In Hebrew, I'm much better than English, so you should thank me for speaking English tonight, because in
You're
Hebrew,
always
I'm
wonderful.
unbearable.
I
Thank
don't
you.
let you speak like this about you. You're wonderful.
yes. So, I mean, working on the novel, I don't necessarily, with this book, I wasn't necessarily thinking about, say, issues. It inevitably begins with a character, but because characters don't, I mean, at least my characters don't exist in a vacuum or in space, you have to deal with their material reality and what are the consequences of the kind of upbringing they have, what are the consequences of the expectations that society has of them, for instance. And I mean, for Yejide's character and for a number of the women in the novel, I feel like there is a keen awareness of how they're supposed to perform being female and how they're supposed to perform motherhood, for instance, and femininity, and how that expectation strips them of not just their individuality, but their humanity. And with Yejide's character, one of the things that I was really mattered to me was later on in the novel, after sort of suffering a lot of loss, she kind of comes to the end of herself and cannot be the kind of mother that everybody expects her to be. And yes, and I'm fascinated by how people judge that character for those moments, and by how Ashley would judge women.
If you
even
think
as
you've been
mothers.
judged as a single woman, not being girly or sleeping with too much men when you're a mother, you learn what judgment is all about. That's for sure. Motherhood is the most horrible judgment of women that exists for me.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, I, and one of the things that sort of instigated that was observing since I was a teenager how, I don't know how it happens in other countries, but, you know, I think that Nigerians, we refer to ourselves sometimes as the nation of unsolicited advice, you know, like everybody knows how you're supposed to live your life and they're willing to tell you. And I feel like with women, it is so wonderful how someone you met 5 minutes ago knows how you should dress, you know, and is happy to inform you. And one of the things that I always found troubling was with mothers, particularly when women were carrying babies, was you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. And I always wondered what must it feel like, you know, to constantly be told that you're not doing this right. You're
I have
supposed
two
to do
mothers
this.
here, and they will tell you. First, you start with the baby, right? Put a blanket on him. He's cold. He's warm. And maybe you know other judgments as mothers. Do you want to
Yeah.
share, girls, or women? Sorry.
Yeah, you know, I don't think I think I had a lot of problems in life, but that wasn't part of it because I just told the world to fuck off.
Good choice.
No, really.
So did you, Emilie?
No, I know the feeling. I mean, I have many other issues, but my motherhood, I'm very proud of my girls. They're proud of me. I hope so. I want them to be proud, but I'm not asking those questions, and I don't care about what others think about my motherhood. With all the respect,
I'm speechless. Well done.
Yeah,
I identify
and
with her character.
I stopped with the talkbacks. Since
Always a
since
good
last
thing.
year I stopped.
No, and actually, I don't feel like a mother. Maybe that's also part of it, which doesn't put me into this category and the problem. But if I ask myself, why don't I feel like a mother, or also do not want to feel like one and be called like one? So I get to the point, because being mother is a very judgeful topic.
It's obliging. It's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And my daughter,
Wall.
she's 5 now, and she told me like, I don't know, 2-3 months ago, something like, I don't feel like you're my mom. You're more like my sister. I was like, cool.
It's like my Anna once, she told me, I want to be, when I grow old, I want to be a simple woman like you. Isn't it wonderful? I mean, she see me as someone some nice and simple. It's wonderful. I felt so good.
My daughter doesn't speak to me because she's 13 and I envy you. But let's move on. I was talking to this guy about this panel. I'm going to be simple about this. I was talking to this guy about this panel. And
This morning?
Yeah,
On
he
the
got
radio.
so upset with me. No, don't say the radio, because then he will know it's him, and then I will feel.
Okay.
But I was speaking to a guy on today, and he got so mad. He told me, "You women with the Me Too movement, you are such victims. You speak like every man is a rapist, and you're all victims. And it's panels like this that just makes women like victims that are, so." Weak in a sense, and I got really mad, and I told him I will talk to you about what he said, and also will tell you that Lionel Shriver, who wrote, actually she's a wonderful author, she wrote Let's Talk About Kevin, or We Need to Talk About Kevin. Lionel Shriver, an author. She also said the same thing, actually. She said, I don't like the Me Too movement. I liked it at the beginning, but now I don't like it because it's all about women victimizing and saying what horrible things been done to him, and they never talk about strength and I won a Nobel Prize for science. You know what I mean? So what is your point and take about those kind of feelings? Anything, or shall we move on?
No, I don't see what is the problem with us saying we stopped being an object and your look, it's yours, it's not mine, and I'm not part of it. I don't see myself as a victim, but I don't want to be an object anymore. I don't want to be asked about my clothes, about my eyes, about my motherhood, my whatever. It's very simple, and this is what Me Too is about, I think, also.
Yeah, I think so. I get the point, because at the beginning, it was actually about let's make the world see how many women experience rape. And I was one of the first people in my bubble, who posted Me Too without any story, just a hashtag on my Facebook. Days before it got viral. And when I read this, I was like, it's very important. Because just if every single woman will just... I wasn't expected that every woman will, tell the story. And I don't think it was necessary. I don't think so. I think the sign
You're brave.
to
You're saying something
say
interesting.
I experienced it, but I'm not here to tell everybody all the details about my experience to make me victim or something. It belongs to me. It's my experience. But I just show up and give a short sign, Me Too. Yeah, and that's what it was about. That was about the hashtag. The hashtag wasn't tell me the story about your rape experience. Yeah. And then it got very like worse and worse, and then it was all mixed up. People who get raped told their stories, and people who just get the wrong compliment told their stories, and they were fighting against each other, and it wasn't about what it should be. So it got
became very flat.
out of control.
Everybody's in the same plane.
But I think what's important about Me Too and why I don't regret the movement is so we can speak about topics. I don't want to be an object, and I want me and also other people like not depend on their gender, wear whatever they want to wear, and have makeup or no makeup or whatever like they want to. And I want all the compliments and all the talk about appearance be private. I don't want it in a professional context. I want to get compliments by my friend, by my husband, by my lovers, by my daughter, by anybody. But I don't want to go like to discuss my contract.
Absolutely.
And just be at first told like my shoes are nice and my eyes are sparkling and what's about my hair now, how do the
my
color
legs
goes.
and my dress and my breasts, it's none of your business, and that's all, and that's it.
Yeah.
Ayobami?
Yes. I mean, I think one of the important things that the Me Too movement did was to question the ways that we had normalized predatory behavior, you know, and how, I mean, some of the things that Lena talks about, that you're within a professional context and someone is talking to you about the way you look, and you're supposed to be grateful for that. You know,
Thank you for your kind advice, boss. Yeah.
you know,
You're supposed to be a good girl.
you know, and I feel like one of the things that has happened is recontextualizing some of these things and the way they have been normalized, and women speaking about how it has affected them. Because, I mean, you mentioned about, I don't know if that's a direct quotation, but that we're not talking about, you know, winning the Nobel Prize in Science.
That's what Lana Shriver said, the novelist.
Yeah, that's one of the questions we need to ask. Why? Last year, I was at my younger sister, she's a doctor, and I went for a graduation ceremony. And it was a very fascinating experience for me because in the class, I think there were about 20 prizes to be won in the class. 19 were won by women. And it was the same in pharmacy, and this was core sciences. And I was having this conversation with my mother, who's also a physician, and we were talking about what happens in 20 years, who is showing up and getting the Nobel Prize in 20 years, and what happens between this moment when we can see that some of the brightest, I mean, in that very class, the brightest students were girls. And somehow, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in 20 years, but at least from the experience my mother had had in that field, she knows that it doesn't always translate into who's at the top of their career in 20 years' time. And these are some of the questions that we need to ask about what happens between this moment and that moment, and the experiences that women have that make it almost untenable for them, or impossible rather, to be all that they can be, say win the Nobel Prize for Literature. One of the stories that came out of the Me Too movement in Nigeria was from the university that I had gone to, and it was coincidentally from a medical student who eventually graduated, but had been so sexually harassed by one of her lecturers that she had to repeat a couple of years. And there were people in that class who had to leave medical school because of this man. So when we are, I don't think that they're totally unrelated, you know, the idea that we're not talking, that's not what we're talking about, and this is what we're talking about. I feel like there, in some cases, there's a direct connection between why some girls say in that class, where the woman who was talking about her experience with this lecturer got into medical school, and even though they could have graduated, they could not, because they were in a system and there was nobody they could talk to, because this man was protected by the system. And I think, so I think that this movement and the moment was important, and is important for those reasons, that there's a sense in which some of these experiences have been so normalized, and their impact on the women who have to go through these experiences, have to think about how am I dressed? Will this invite somebody? That you're investing some energy in all of that could be put to productive use. And if we have a conversation about it, and systems change, and the way people approach things change, I think that it can make quite a difference. And another thing I wanted to talk about is that a lot of stories came out of this movement, and I feel that storytelling, particularly in this instance, can be a form of regaining agency and taking control of your own narrative, and at least having a voice in how it's interpreted.
Not being ashamed.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an act of strength in a way, not to be ashamed. Yeah. Shall we continue? Okay. Okay. You left Ukraine, right, when you were 10 years old.
Yes.
Your book deals with a girl who was left in the Ukraine, and you were left the Ukraine at the age of 10 years old and became a refugee, right, at Germany?
Yeah.
Was this book that you wrote about the girl that remained behind in Ukraine some kind of trying to understand what would happen if you stayed in a worse place than Germany, or a more chauvinistic place like Ukraine? Please tell us how you left with your family. That's more important. Emilie is right. Let's ask about the personal experience.
So
Yep.
you
10
know,
years old,
it's
take
not
us back.
It's not a proper refugee way. It's a political way to categorize the Jews, the East European Jews who were allowed to move to Germany, like couple of them, and they needed like to give the child a name, so they called it refugees. But in fact, we were not refugees, you know. We were more like immigrants because we were allowed to come, and there was also like a short period of time we should arrive, and it's not how it goes with refugees. But still the refugee feeling, because we were living in a refugee camp for a while and later lived in a refugee house, also with refugees like all the people from ex-Yugoslavian were there at this time. So it was a refugee experience in Germany, but the traveling wasn't in refugee traveling because we had time to pack our stuff and to buy tickets for a bus. Yes, it was a bus. It was very awful. 60 hours by
60
bus.
hours by bus?
60 hours by bus.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. In a bad way, I mean.
Yeah, I know. It was horrible. But yeah, that's why. And that's because my parents didn't want, or my father decided not to go to Israel anymore. So we should migrate to Israel, and then he was here, and 4 days still left till we should take the plane. But he called my mom and told her to not to take the plane and to stay there.
Talking about early 90s?
Yeah.
Emilie, what did you ask?
No,
Yeah.
Talk.
Early 90s, yeah.
Early 19s,
Yeah.
you've been in Germany.
Yeah.
Did you remain in contact with your friends in the Ukraine, or you wondered what happened to them? They stand behind? Because if I understand correctly, the prostitution in Ukraine, child prostitution, is massive amounts. If I understood correctly, I'm not sure if I'm right.
So the prostitution part, I didn't research a lot about children's prostitution in Ukraine. I researched about like homeless children and organized children criminality in 90s. So I remember it as I experienced it. I remember them. I remember all those children. I remember all the news about them. I remember how they looked like and how many they were and what was their tricks and everything. And I remember my mom telling me like, stay away from them, because I was always observing, and people who who were like the poorest or the like outside, like behind the social border, yeah? I don't know if you say this so in English. It's maybe just a one-to-one translation from German and sounds funny. But all these people and their...
No, it actually sounds good, behind the social borders.
Yeah, there
I
was the
understand it. I
most
see it
interesting for me. I always ask myself, why are these children there and I'm here? What make me be here and why I deserve this? It was always my question. Since I was 3 years old or 4 years old, I always asked myself why I deserve to be here and what happened to them. Like, they were born, yeah? Somebody was pregnant. And then, what happened then? What was, like, all the small steps? And that what is this book about? So it's all the Ukraine part in this novel, which is the most part. It's about all the tiny steps somebody goes, and what do they make to this person? Like all the small experience, all the words we get told make sense and make our understanding of life. And when somebody, in my novel, a boyfriend who is 22 tells a 14-year-old, I need your help, and there is a friend, he is like amazed by your beauty and he would pay to go out with you. And she's asking like for fucking. And he's like, yeah, of course. And she doesn't want, but actually she knows, okay, so I just have to help him out. And why is she doing this so quickly? You ask yourself maybe now, but if you read the book till then, you wouldn't ask yourself because you know all the tiny steps, and then it's just natural. She answers yes very quickly. So, and this book is more about all these steps, and it's not about the girl I left there. It's just in general, like growing up and also being behind the social border.
Yeah, it's like a reality. You write so realistically. It's like a Dickens story of ruination, of being ruined.
I feel honored.
Yeah, you did it well. You did. I think today the law against prostitute customers in Israel passed. Am I right? Was it today, Emilie?
Yes.
It's a law that says that if you go to a sex worker and you pay her, you are the offender. And you should be punished, and not the sex worker that you went to. The guys, the men are responsible. And I was wondering, Emilie, what is your take on this law? Do you like it, not like it? What do you think about it? If you have thoughts. If not, we will move on.
No, I was 10 years ago. I was part of the group who created this law. So of course I'm proud of it, and I think it's very important. And no woman chooses to become, as you say, sex worker, but to become a victim of this society. It's not a question about you couldn't. No, you didn't have the possibility to become a doctor in Oxford either, or a hook in. Excuse me. Yes. So I don't think anyone of us could choose something like this, to sell part of you.
Lana, you're making faces. I can see your faces.
Come on,
join
problem.
the discussion.
No problem. Join the discussion. But I'm very proud of this law, and I'm waiting the police to take care of it because they don't do it yet.
Lana, you want to? Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's actually a very difficult topic because I myself know some of like sex workers in different kinds. And also most of them, when very unhappy, were like one friend of mine I knew from the massage company. Her whole sexuality was destroyed, and it was awful. And she just did it for some months because she was in lack of money and she studied and all this stuff.
Yes, but in certain class
but also I know personally one person, and she is from a very rich house. She is okay with her parents. She studied.
It's like the doctor everybody know who smoke non-stop and drink alcohol non-stop, and he's like 100 already.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So it's I'm not like, yeah, I would tell my daughter, please become a prostitute. I wouldn't.
because she won't, because she's your daughter.
I
Because
don't
her
know.
mother. No, I'm sure.
I don't know, but I don't want to be the person who would tell this one woman who really just enjoy it because it's kind of her kink and kind of her sex performance, or I don't know what it is, but I would feel bad to tell her she isn't allowed to do this, you know?
I think most of us deserve to choose our partner. And it's very simple, but we don't gonna get
It's
into
complex,
it.
you're right. It's complex. And we
It's
will
not
leave it.
that.
No, it is, because we, I think Lana and me, we met women that said it was their own free will, and it's hard to just erase
Yes,
them
but it depends. You
because
know,
they
for
don't-
in my neighborhood, many people of my class became a hooker because they didn't have enough money to
you
buy
know
food.
more, yeah.
So,
This is
with
why
all
it's
the
complex.
respect, they didn't choose it. It's not. It wasn't a question of being something or do something you wanted to do, or sleep with 20 men a day. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but also there are women like this one,
Yes, maybe.
actually, and also they need to be decriminalized. So that's my point. You know,
Well,
I
I'm
would
starting to
like to
feel-
have a world which would be
I
just
believe
very
she will
easy.
find a way to manage it and to deal with this law. But for
So you-
all the others, I think it's very
Emily, you just took out
important.
the tigress in you, so I will use this because you took it
Sorry.
out. No, it's great. I like the tigress in you. You took it out, and I will use this opportunity to ask you why the woman in your book revenges. I mean, it's not a spoiler to say that she kills him. He rapes her and she
because
kills
the
him.
rape was an ongoing event. She got pregnant, and you have to understand, she doesn't trust the police or the authorities. For her, from her personal history, police, it's not something. It's not a.
Something you trust. You
It's
don't
not
trust.
something they never took care of her and of her family. So she didn't even think about call the police. So it's not a revenge. That's the only way out from the motherhood she never chose. She didn't want this baby.
Yep.
And from a situation that she had to lie to everybody around her. Like, what kind of life? And this
what I
is
felt
why
when I
she
read the
decided to kill him.
Do you know this kind of feeling that you don't trust police, you don't come from
Of
the wrong
course
side?
I know.
Can you share with us?
No.
Okay, so don't.
No, I would love to, but it's too complicated. And
I understand.
as I told you in Hebrew, I'm much better, and I'm not enough. I don't feel comfortable enough to share it. But you know my story. I know those people. I'm part of those people who never trust the police. And this is why she decided to kill him and to go and to spend their life in prison, alone. Alone, lonely, sad, but at least she got control on her life. So this is also important.
Can I tell the audience that you're wonderful in English also and ask for an applause for her effort?
No, come on.
Come on. We're both Hebrew speaking. It's hard. And you're doing it wonderfully. I think it's important to applaud.
I love you.
I do. Ayobami, about polygamy, I'm probably going to sound like somebody who doesn't understand, but this habit of taking a second, third, fourth wife, is it still pretty much going on in Nigeria, or are you just modernized and I'm talking nonsense?
I mean, it's a complicated question because
Complicated is good.
yeah, because Nigeria is 200 million people, and it's very difficult to explain that. Approaching 200 million people. So there's several Nigerians in Nigeria. But I mean, what I would say for sort of the part that I'm from is that it's not as fashionable as it used to be, and it doesn't happen as often, I think. So yeah, I think it still happens, but it's not the norm anymore. You know, so I mean, times have changed, people have changed.
Young generation like you are changing it, no?
I feel like even in my mother's generation, it sort of changed. Like, I can't really think of any of my parents' friends where it was a polygamous situation. But with, say, my grandfathers, of course, I could really think about that. So yes, that's the short. That's the simplest.
You mentioned
answer
your
I can
mother, and you
afford.
gave me this kind of will. It wasn't written on the script, but I would like to ask you what can you share with me the lesson that you learned from your mother? One lesson that you remember? I learned from her that a lady doesn't sit like this. That I remember, but I do sit like this sometimes. And can you give me something that you learned from your mother?
Yeah,
I just thought that it would be a
I
nice way to.
I wanted to have a nice thing, but the first thing coming to my mind is
You're such an actress. It's amazing, wonderful.
How do you call this in English? This.
A
It's
neck, or the one that the guys
no,
have?
your-
Adam's
your-
apple.
no, your
Neck,
neck. Okay,
neck.
so she told me, like for serious, the man is the head, but the woman is the neck.
She moves the head, right?
And and the head thinks that it moves by itself, but it's not true. There is a neck.
You think it's true?
I hated it with my 10 years so badly. I didn't want to be whether the neck nor the head, you know.
I'm a whole human being. I'm not a neck and I'm not a head. I'm just everything.
I hated it, yeah.
So you feel freer than your mother. You're not supposed to be a lady anymore. It's a relief, isn't it?
You know,
It sounds like she was a really ladyish kind of woman, prim and proper.
you know, I think she's quite a regular fit-in woman, like from the Soviet Union. So she studied, she was an engineer, but also she was the one who cooked. And she was also the neck, like something my father said, and I was like, Mom, but it was your idea. And she was like,
He needs to
do
feel smart.
you want us to fight? And I was like, but it was your idea. And I was like, hey, it was your idea. And she was mad at me. So, I think I can deal, or no, I can't deal with them, but I can play every role. I know every existing role for a woman, and I could fit in, I could play.
But you don't want to.
No, I don't want to, but the sad part on it is, because I know all the roles, I don't really know who I really am. That's to be honest. Because I switch between all of them. I can play everything. I'm like a piano, but I do not know which note it's my actually inside. I do not know it. I just know how to play.
I identify with you right now. I really understand what you're talking about.
Thank
It's
you.
like the too many identities for a woman, and you lose your music and your voice and your song. You don't know what your own song is.
So that's
Even
why
in
I
sexuality is
sometimes
like this.
to be on my own and need to be on my own like for weeks.
Find out who you are.
Actually, yeah, because then I hear
own voice.
my voice, like really, like also the physical voice. So I start to speak to myself loud, like the crazy people do. It's actually healthy, I think.
Yep.
And then I kind of find to myself and to my body, just walk naked and just feel myself. But this feeling I get there in these weeks or days when I'm on my own, finding back to myself, they get lost immediately when I go back to the society.
I actually walk not like myself. Because I wear heels and I try to walk that I will look attractive. It's horrible. Sometimes I notice that I'm not walking for myself. What am I, on a catwalk? I'm old enough not to walk on a catwalk anymore. I understand this loss of authenticity. I really understand it. I get it.
And also, it can be very fun to walk like on a catwalk.
If I want to, but not all the time.
Yeah,
Come on.
it's just
Yep.
about knowing
Yep.
when do I want what.
Yep.
It's my
Who am I?
decision to
Who am I?
wear the lipstick now, or do I wear it for somebody else? It's just about this decision. It's not about the lipstick itself, and not about the heels themselves. it's just about why do I do this?
Yep, women are so versatile. They're like rubber girls. We have so many roles we can play. The
and I-
sexy,
and
the
I-
child, everything.
And I very
Yeah.
like to include men's. I think for men it's also very difficult to be themselves because there are so many male creatures who are very creative and they would love to wear heels. And they would love to wear makeup, but they are not allowed. Last week, one day before I left to Israel, I saw a little boy like this, 3 years old Turkish boy, Mohammed, with his mother. And he like picked some pink hair stuff and was like, I want this. And his mother told him, it's for girls. And I hated her for this.
Yeah.
He
Even the
should get
pink big one,
this.
yeah.
Yes, why not? It doesn't hurt anybody. It's just a hairstyle. It won't cut his penis or something.
No, I don't think so. Emily, can we move to your lessons? Because
My mother, she's a wonderful person, very simple, uneducated, unfortunately. And after she read my book, she told me, okay, this is you and this is me. And only now I know that you understand how much I love you and how deep is my feeling about you as my daughter. So it's not that deep what I said now, but my mother always said to me that everyone have a mother that was happy to see him born. So I take it with me everywhere, even in politics, even everywhere.
the reason I have
There
this
is
in...
everybody have this moment where someone was happy to see him for the first time.
so you can't hate him because you remember he's got a mother. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, he did portray it beautifully because in the book, Iris, she has a mother who is like you described, and the relationship between them made me cry. And
Sorry.
no, in a good way. So thank you. Ayobami,
Yes.
your mother.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm trying to distill it into one thing because
hard.
Yes, she's probably she's definitely the most influential person in my life. She's a very, very brilliant woman. There's this story. I'm going to bore you with some Nigerian story. There's this story about Nigerian parents and how every Nigerian parent came first in class.
It's actually interesting because I don't know any Nigerian parents, and I would like to hear that.
I mean, it's the story Nigerian parents tell their children. Like, when I was in school, I was the best in class.
Oh yeah.
And, after a while, you sort of think, all of you couldn't have been the best in class.
I know this one.
It's
I
not
know it.
possible. So there's something fishy going on here. But the thing about my mom was that she never said this thing to us. And I remember the first time I met someone who had been in school with her, and she said to me, I hope you're as smart as your mother, because she was the best in class. And so she was actually the best in class, but she never talked about it. But the gift I think that she gave us was that I don't know, I think she just believed so much in us that it was, I remember I would get nervous about exams, and she would be so calm. Like, she'd be like, of course you're going to do very well. And I'm just like, no, you don't know that. I'm not going to do very well. I'm very nervous right now. But she just had this confidence in our capacity to sort of figure life out. And I think that it's really given me a kind of freedom that I wouldn't have had otherwise, a freedom in my mind. Yes, and to try things, So, yeah, she's the other thing that I got from her was that when I told her that I wanted to be a writer, I think I must have been 14 at the time when I sort of decided this is what I want to do. And I said to her, I want to write. She went to the university library at that time and got every book they had in what was the African Writers series, and brought them home and said, if you're going to be a good writer, these are the people you should read. And I think that has really had an influence on me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Dana, why don't you share with us your moment with your mother?
Yes,
I think
Yes.
they want to leave, but I will
Yes,
share with you
yes.
privately. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience. And thank you. Please read their books. They're really, 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 really good books. Thank you so much. Thank you. תודה.